Okay, thanks everybody for coming along. When I was preparing for this talk, I realised there were 3 potential starts. So you're going to get all 3 potential starts. I'm just looking at the audience. I think I've worked out which order to do the 3 in. So we'll begin by a brief introduction. This is not what it looks like at first. It isn't the real thing, but it's seriously close, of the Gough Map of Britain. Now, the Gough Map of Britain, its name, named after Richard Gough, was bequeathed to the Bodleian in 1809, and it's a bit special. It dates from around about 1400, and the thing to remember about the Gough Map of Britain is why it's so important. This is the earliest surviving regional national map created purely as a map, not as a map to go into a book, that exists anywhere in the world. So it's seriously an important piece of map making. Now, just to familiarise yourselves with it, East is at the top, so up here, and so Britain is lying on its side. Scotland is down this end. Wales you can see sort of down there. And what does it show? It shows about 700, 800 toponyms, which is incredibly important. Around about 200 rivers. And really, what we have here is a true geographical map from the Middle Ages. So that's introduction number 1. Introduction number 2, I'd like just to take you back to the 5th of December last year. One of my colleagues came into the office and said, "Do you know the Gough Map adapted its case? Do you know anything about that?" And I said, no. So we raced along to the Centre for Digital Scholarship over there. And in the corner of my eye, I could see this, but what I saw before that was Adam Lowe from the Factum Foundation in Madrid. And Adam came along and said, "Oh, hello, good to see you." And I knew straight away that because Adam was there and I could see the facsimile of the 3D facsimile of the Selden map of China on the wall, that this wasn't really the Gough Map. But it's very, very difficult to tell the difference. It looks like the real thing, it's exactly the same size. It's an amazing looking thing. And to see it, I got incredibly excited. And what you can't see as an audience where you are is that this is a double-sided facsimile. So I would encourage you all to come and walk around the back, and you'll see the back of the Gough Map, which, as Chris mentioned earlier, the original is in this capsule. It takes a lot of people to move it, and you can't see the back. Here you can. And what the back, I'm going to spoil the fun for you. In terms of text, there's a little bit up here which just says Old Map of Great Britain and a number 405. The number 405, this was the lot number when Richard Gough bought the map in 1774. And that's the only writing, but what you do see, and what this facsimile does rather beautifully, it shows you what has seeped through in terms of colour. And the rivers and the water, the greens on the map, show through on the back very clearly. So come have a look at that. So that's part 2. The third part of the introduction really goes back to the beginning of 2015. And what has now become known in Gough Map circles as Science Week. Many of you will remember David Howell, who was our head of conservation research here at the library. And it was thanks to David that we managed to pull together an international team to come and work down in the basement in this building before it was filled with volumes to do lots of scientific work. Now, the Gough Map has generated lots of interest ever since we acquired Mellon funding in 2005 to get a digital image. there's been a lot of work done on the map, and various different strands of intellectual argument coming up with all sorts of completely different ideas. And to counter this, or to try and draw it all together, a panel of about 15 individuals got together. We call ourselves the Gough Map panel, and we started working and thinking, how can we bring all the information together and come up with a clear story? And we were aware that the Mappamundi in Hereford had been the subject of a 3D scan by the Factum Foundation. So this we thought was quite interesting. As luck would have it, we were also preparing for an exhibition, a map exhibition, and one of the co-curators was a chap called Jerry Broughton, who many of you may know. And we mentioned this to Jerry, and Jerry said, Factum Foundation, that's Adam Lowe, he's my best friend. I'll have a word with him. So Jerry spoke to Adam, Adam said, when do you want us? We'll come along and we'll do a 3D scan of the Gough Map. And so this is when David Howell sprang into action. Factum came over from Madrid. We also had Team Pigment, as they're now known, from Durham University to do some Raman spectroscopy. They came along, and we'd also were trialling a new hyperspectral imaging piece of kit. So we had a technician came over from Boston and Massachusetts. So we had 3 different scientific groups, all down in the basement, all for a week, all talking and collaborating, which was absolutely magnificent. But to focus on the work of Factum, they did a 3D scan which took a long time. I would say the best part of a day to scan the map, and they said, shall we do the back? And we thought, do we need to do the back? It'll take a long time. And they said, do the back, you might find it worthwhile. And so we did the back. And the net result of this was a file of images was sent to us. And this file of images was, to look at it, I found incredibly disappointing, to be frank, but that was a mistake. It looked like a lump of concrete. We thought, well, what's going on here? And then we put it to our scientific people, and this is where the real huge breakthrough in terms of what the Gough Map and the story of the Gough Map came. And it's all down to pinholes. You'll struggle to see pinholes on there, but the pinholes appear on the front, but not on the back. They don't penetrate through the parchment. So what this has led us to conclude is that the Gough Map, dating from around about 1400, is actually a copy of an earlier map which doesn't survive. And the pricking technique would have been used to prick through this original map to create lots of dots, and the evidence for these dots is clear to see when you know what to look for. But what it doesn't do, and what is vitally important in terms of the Gough Map, is this is the actual item, the 1400 Gough Map, the one that this is a facsimile of, is a palimpsest. So the area, which is Scotland down at the front and south of Hadrian's Wall, we're looking at very, very different dates. The earliest part of the map is Scotland and north of the Wall. South of the Wall, the writing is a completely different hand, but the pinhole evidence shows us that the newest, the most recent part of the map, which probably dates from nearer 1500 than 1400, is East Anglia, Kent and Sussex, where the map has been seriously updated and there is very, very little pinhole evidence at all down there. So we are assuming that this is a freshly drawn piece of map. You will recognise the East Anglian coast as looking pretty much like East Anglia. There's a slightly denser collection of settlements in there, and we are drawn to the conclusion that, certainly in terms of the coastline, information will have been drawn from porcelain charts created in the Mediterranean for navigators sailing up to the British Isles and to Flanders and Netherlands, and will have become familiar with the coastline and therefore been able to map it rather better. So this gave us a story to work with, and the story has just got better and better, and it's got better and better largely because of the Factum collaboration with the Bodleian. So Archiox and John Barrett over here has been instrumental in doing that. Factum came back with John, and we're able to do another 3D scan, which we're still working on, and create this magnificent facsimile. And I would invite you to look at this. This is a 4 times magnified facsimile of part of the map. The acetate shows you where it is, but this is where the pinholes come through. You can see them very clearly where they are, and just overlay that and see how it works. It's magnificent. So the Gough Map keeps on delivering. You can see there are various facsimiles dotted around. The case is, what is a facsimile? They're not really facsimiles, they are copies and manipulations of the map. There's an article over there which asks the question, what is a facsimile? This, I would say, is a facsimile, and it's probably the only true one, because it looks like the real thing, it's the same size. This double-sided one made in 1958, that too is pretty close. But the Gough Map has generated much more interest in the last few years. What you see, certainly, that we are now in the final year of a 4-year Leave the Hume Trust funded grant, where we've done a lot of scientific research, a lot of hyperspectral, multispectral, RAM spectroscopy, all sorts. And we're gathering all this data together. We've signed a contract with Brill to publish a monograph, and the deadline, well, the first submissions will be later this year, so that's all very exciting. We are working on improving the website, which was created on an AHRC funded project in 2011 and was owned by King's College London. We've now brought that into the Bodleian, so we now own it and are working on updating it. And even the @Gough Map Twitter account has been active, and you can see a result of it. The Advent Calendar 2021, where viewers of the Twitter account were invited to contribute and show us the most imaginative use of a Gough Map Christmas tree decoration. The decoration was created, and I'm delighted to say that the award was won by somebody in this room at the moment who has absolutely nothing to do with the map collection. If I tell you that you will see the decoration is hanging on this tree, and we believe it is suspended from Billericay in Essex. So I'm not going to say any more than that, but if you know anyone from Billericay, and I think there might be a couple of people from Billericay in this room, one of them is responsible for this and won the prize, so congratulations.
How many entries were there?
I'm not to say, Andrew. So that really is the story of it. Now, I don't know whether, John, you could just enlighten us a little as to what happened downstairs in the imaging studio to help create this stunning facsimile.
Absolutely. Well, I've got to say, I was only really responsible for recording it and not printing it. That was done in Madrid, but by my colleagues in the Factum Foundation. But the difference between the recording that we did last year and the one in 2015 is that we're using an entirely different new prototype imaging hardware, which is called the Selene. It uses photometric stereo as a means of generating texture maps and then converting those into depth maps to represent height. And so this is a recording which is made at 700,000 pixels per square inch, so it's incredibly high resolution. That meant that we needed to record the original front and back as 85 image tiles per side, and created a phenomenal amount of data, probably about 2.5 terabytes per side. And then to stitch all of those together, not just in the X and the Y, but also in the Z, was a huge task, and that was done by colleagues in Madrid. But it shows The prototype imaging system is working really, really well. The fact that we've created a facsimile. In fact, the data set from the 2015 recording, which Nick was talking about with the laser-based recording system, and the new photometric stereo system have been combined to create this facsimile. Really impressive stuff.
Thank you, John. It's a real game changer for us, certainly in the map section, because we're now able to, this is very portable, we can take it out, we can talk to people about it, we can invite people in. It's a huge, I can't stress how much as a teaching aid this is set to improve how we go about our business on a regular basis. It's a superb thing. So I will invite you to have a closer look. Just to look at the back, and the view I've got here, and you can see the conservation work that was done relatively recently by, I'm guessing it must have been 6 or 7 years ago when Marietta started working in this area here and just stabilising the map. Have a close look. You can also see the join very clearly. There are 2 pieces of parchment here. This is a lamb and this is a sheep. So come and have a look and inspect that. And if anybody's got any questions, then please fire away.
Just an observation,
Yes.
Nick. I mean, with all the work and sort of technical expertise and everything else, this is presumably worth more than the original.
I couldn't possibly comment.
But you are all welcome to have a closer look, to feel it, and just thank you, Nick, and thank you, John, for such a fantastic presentation.
Yeah.